Alright, so we're in the genetics unit and we're looking at alternative inheritance patterns, ones that don't match this law of dominance. We've just finished up with incomplete dominance. We're working on this handout here called alternative inheritance patterns, and now we're looking at codominance. So I'm going to do a couple of questions for you, one that involves one trait, and then I'll do a two-trait cross as well that involves codominance. Okay, so we're looking at this question number 4 first. Cattle can have hair that is red, big R, white, big W, or roan, big R, big W. Predict the genotypic and phenotypic ratios for the following crosses. So we're going to do question B, but you'll notice that there's no recessive traits. That's because all of the alleles are dominant. They are fully expressed at the same time with other dominant alleles. So this is why it's called codominance. The genotype that has two different alleles, like here for example for roan, big R and a big W, you'll notice that we use different letters because we can't use a big letter with a small letter. We can't use a capital and a lowercase letter because there are no recessive traits, so that doesn't work. So you have to use different letters to represent the different alleles in the heterozygous conditions where you're going to see codominance actually happening. So that's something that's unique and different about codominance compared to the other inheritance patterns. So we're going to do red versus roan. Okay. So so the red individual, again, they are going to be big R. That's the only way you can have that red color. And then the roan color is big R with big W. So big R is fully expressed, big W is fully expressed. Half the hairs will be red, half the hairs will be white, and you get a color that's kind of in between. That's the overall effect. Again, we're going to use 2 to the n, and so when we look at here, the red, there is 0 heterozygous conditions there, so we're only going to get one possible gamete there. RW here is going to be considered to be heterozygous because each of these alleles are different from one another. So we have one gene, or sets of genes, or sets of alleles that are heterozygous, and so there are 2 possibilities there. So now we know that our Punnett square is going to be 2 by 1. So let's do that. 2 by 1. Okay? And so the big R is only going to produce one possible gamete, big R. The RW is going to produce half of the gametes are going to have R, the other half of the gametes are going to have W, and of course all you have to do then is just fill that in. That's the easy part, like this. And now we have to figure out the genotypic ratio. So we have 1 big R to 1 big R W. And we're going to write the R's and the W's out again just for sake of time here. What do these organisms look like? So that first one, big R, is going to be red. So we have 1 red individual. And the big R, big W, that individual is going to be roan in color. Okay. So you notice we're using all capital letters for all the alleles. So let's jump to the next question here. And that's question 5b here. So 5b, in humans, blood type A and B alleles are inherited codominantly, while the O blood type is recessive. Additionally, having unattached earlobes is dominant to attached. What are the phenotypic ratios for the following crosses? Okay, so question B here is type O, heterozygous, unattached, crossed with type BO, attached. Okay, so let's look at that. So we know that blood type is codominantly inherited. Okay, so oftentimes when we do codominant questions, you want to write the alleles as superscripts on the letters, and so we're going to use the letter I. We're going to use the letter I to represent the particular type of protein that's found on the surface of blood cells that gives blood being O or B or A or AB, etc. So we're going to use a lowercase I because O is recessive, so we're going to write IO and IO. And again, O is recessive, so you have to have two recessive alleles in order for blood type O to be expressed. And we have unattached earlobes. Now, whether or not your earlobes are attached or unattached is inherited by complete dominance, like we started with earlier in the unit. So we're not going to use superscripts on letters here. We're just going to use capital and lowercase letters like we normally would. Okay, and so if you're unattached earlobes, that's a dominant trait. So this individual who's unattached could be heterozygous or homozygous, but we're told that they are heterozygous, so they're going to be, let's just use R's, big R, little r. Okay, this person here who is BO, so we're going to use a capital letter I because B is a dominant trait, and we're going to use a lowercase I, to represent the O allele. And then this person is attached earlobes, which is recessive, so they have to be little r, little r. Now when we go over to here and do 2 to the n, there's only one heterozygous gene there, okay, and so that's 2 to the 1, which gives us 2 possibilities. And then over here, this is considered to be heterozygous because the B and the O are different from one another. Little r is homozygous, so there's only one possibility there as well. Okay, and so our Punnett square is going to end up being 2 by 2. So let's take this individual here and put them on the top. So we got IO and a big R and an IO with a little r. This individual we'll put on the side, so we've got big I, big I, B, little r, and then IO, little r. So all we have to do now is fill that in. So this is big I, big B, little IO, and then big R, little r. And then we've got, again, big I, big B, little IO, and then R, little r, little r. This individual here is little IO, big R, little r. And this individual here is little IO, again, twice, and then little r, little r. So what are the genotypic ratios? You'll notice that all of these genotypes are different from one another. So our genotypic ratio is going to be 1 to 1 to 1 to 1. What do they look like? So this individual here is going to be B, type B, O, and they're going to be heterozygous, unattached, since unattached is dominant. Unattached. Okay. I'm going to have to write up over here, so this is going to bring this up here. Okay. This individual here will be type B, O, and they're going to be attached earlobes because, again, attached earlobes are recessive. So one of these, one of those. Okay, let's change that. So we got one of those, one of those. We're going to have one and one down here as well. And this individual here is going to be O, and again, heterozygous. Messy writing using the mouse. So heterozygous, unattached, and this one individual down here is going to be type O, attached. Okay, so hopefully that helps with your practice problems that you have to do